She's typically the woman behind the carrot.
Oh my God, when did you get it right?
Welcome to Unbuckled Comics. If you're new, there's a liability form on the back table next to the Rink Pop. You can grab those for your special someone. If you're returning, thank you for your continued support. I am Unbuckled Cape, your host of this comic book review podcast, and today we are not doing a comic book review. Instead, I'm having my special someone join us on the show to talk about her experiences at the Hershey Comicon. She went with me to the Hershey Comicon. She was my camera woman and my extra set of hands while I was there talking to some of the guests and people, and we're doing recordings, and she was helping with the videos and all that, but really just taking it in as her first experience of doing a nerd type convention. So we are going to sit down and have a chat with Mrs. Kate. But before we head out on patrol, let's gather some intel first. You already know it. I have a link tree. It is linktree/unbuckled comics. linktr.ee/unbuckled comics. And if you go there, you can find all of the goodies like Instagram, Facebook, what's that other one? X, YouTube, and Discord. The one that's probably the most important. You can go on to Discord, and that's where I post the threads for making comments for the episode. And although I don't have comments to read for the general or leading into it, the Cape Crusaders actually wrote in, and that's what I called the people in our Discord, the Cape Crusaders. They wrote in and asked Mrs. Cape their own questions. So not only does she answer my questions, the community, she answers the community questions on this episode as well. And if you would like to do that, you got to head over to Linktree, linktr.ee/unbuckled comics, and join our Discord, our happy little community of heroes and villains, heroes and one villain. We could use a couple more villains actually. So if you're feeling a little bit devilish, maybe head over there and join our little group. Aside from that, this is technically a sidekick episode, and we are all well aware that those tend to run a little bit long. So I am not going to delay anymore. I am going to hit it right on over to our interview with Mrs. Cape. She is typically the woman behind the camera. um, every once in a while, she's the woman in front of the camera. She is always the woman that likes to make fun of me. And today she is having her first time behind the microphone. Welcome to the show, Mrs. Kate.
Mrs. Kate. Kind of like that. Thank you
Actually,
for having me. Thank you once again. I always feel like when I'm on here, I'm not as well versed in everything. So I like having these joking type of podcasts, videos. It's fun.
um, so I guess that already kind of answers question number one. Like not being a nerd, but being married to a mega nerd.
Like I always say, your hobbies are my hobbies, so I've kind of adopted it as my own a little bit, not to the extent that you love it, but I'm here to support. So I listen whenever you come home with, a new stack of comics. I have no idea what you're talking about. Do I remember it? No. Do I space out in the middle? Absolutely. But
A sign of true love.
yes, exactly. But no, I help you decorate your podcast room and everything. You know, I'm here to support you and it's still fun. I enjoy it.
Did you think it would go this far?
No. Man, we talked about this years and years ago of, a dream that you'd like to have a podcast or really go into um go into comics a little bit more. And here we are today, you're kind of living your dream and you're interviewing people that in your world you're like fangirling really hard. And me, I'm like, it's just a bunch of old guys, that kind of drop off. But they are evidently the background, the ones who kind of made comics what they are today. And it's kind of amazing to meet these people as well, because I certainly didn't think we'd make it this far and have as many followers, and people love it. It's amazing. It's really cool.
Yeah, I mean, that drive to Hershey Comic Con, as we got closer, I don't think I know you've never seen me that nervous before.
No.
And that was wild. And then to have people consistently listening to the show and to have, you know, Instagram followers more than I ever thought I would. And we are coming up on 2 years. I think we're just 2 months shy of 2 years of doing this.
Hmm.
And I never would have thought that in 2 years, someone would approach me and say, "Hey, can you do promotional work for Comic Con?" And you go ahead and pick who you want to interview,
Yeah.
and they hand me the list, and there's like big names,
Yeah.
really big names.
Yeah. And like to you, they're, big names, and they're like, oh, let's interview, Batgirl and all these really cool people that have been in the industry for so, so long and have made, their marks everywhere. And I'm sitting there just like, okay, this is cool. Like I'll wake up and, I've done shows, but I've done fishing shows. This is kind of like that, but people are dressing up and having so much fun. And oh my gosh, I thought comics were just going to be books and some pop and uh video games, like just regular stuff. Oh my gosh, the art and spin-offs of comics and different variations, you name it. It's just absolutely insane how much there is. It's never ending.
Could you imagine if people went to like the fishing and hunting conventions and dressed up and have guys walking around with like antlers tied to their heads?
Right? Dress up in your hunting best or your fishing best. Who has the most fly fish on their vests?
I'm picturing guys cosplaying as the animals that they are after.
Somebody just dressed up as a moose.
Yep. The gigantic swordfish. When he walks down the hall, his sword nose scrapes the lights. It's definitely a different type of world. And actually, a year ago this weekend, I asked you to go to the Wellsboro Comic Con with me, and you didn't go.
No.
Why did you not want to go to one?
I guess I was just nervous. Like to see other people dressed up and enter into that world as somebody who really doesn't do it, it kind of made me nervous, to
What are your well before going to the Hershey Comic Con? What were your overall expectations of a comic convention?
I figured it was just going to be people set up with their booths of different comics and um people cosplaying, and that's about it. I really didn't think it would be much else, and I was very mistaken. Of course there was people with comic books, but the massive amount of artists and people just sitting there drawing as they're talking to you. And of course, you led the conversations when you talk to these people. And I would just stand there and watch them draw from a page of nothing. And it just, within 5 minutes, starts to come to life. And it's amazing.
Yeah, and the talent is so unreal, and there's so much of it, and you could walk up to a table of someone that you might have not have heard before, and see a level of talent that is equal to someone that has been doing it for years and their name is a
Absolutely.
staple. Like it's so crazy. And to think that the Hershey Comicon, which is actually in Granville, had some of the star power that it did, but
Oh,
then
yeah.
also had such a great balance of indie creators
Mhm.
and the little guys, and it was one of the more well balanced conventions I have ever been to.
Yes. Yes, completely. You go into one section and there's just the one couple we met. They make um 3D printed
They were so cool.
keychains and what was it? Because we were gonna get one for Bub.
It
Oh.
was a keychain, but like it moved. It
Mhm.
was like an animal, and it had like
Oh,
this.
they were interlocked. Yes, yes,
It
yes.
was almost like the skeleton of it, and it was like an
Yes.
alligator, and it like flexed.
It was just husband and wife. They had other full-time jobs. They do this on the side. They didn't have a website or
Both
anything.
teachers.
Well, that's what it was. They were both teachers, and this was just kind of a side thing.
I
And
think they do have a website. I know I definitely follow them on Instagram.
no,
And
they don't have a website because I remember asking. They have the Instagram because we asked if we could have it shipped. But regardless, we there are a husband and wife who are teachers. They do this on the side, and then you have s- some of the biggest names in the comic book industry. Somebody that started from the beginning at what, 12 years old, 13?
13.
13 years old.
I mean, he started doing his book at 12, but he sent it out at 13.
Exactly.
Uh,
So you have just that just shows you such a broad spectrum of talents, abilities, what Hershey Comic Con had to offer. It was amazing.
do you think you'll go to another convention?
It was exhausting. I'm sure I will.
Maybe not as the unbuckled capes,
Yes,
but
yes,
like just to go to one.
yes. Yeah, it would be fun just to go to one to go to one. Absolutely.
Mm, I think that you would really enjoy the Wellsboro one because that one was way more spread out. It was more of a air type.
Mm,
When the boys are older, I definitely want to take them to that because there's kids' activities and it's a little
okay.
more kid friendly. Um, you probably would not like the New York Comic Con.
No, that one is absolutely enormous.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
one's huge.
that was crazy. Um,
Again, it's just I'm very starstruck with the amount of talent, especially something as big as New York. Uh, I've seen the photos you've taken of the people and their dedication with cosplay. Oh my word.
yeah,
Well, the couple we sat with at the bar at the Hershey Comic Con, they were both dressed up, and the wife, she had what was she dressed as?
he was dressed as a character from Boulder's Gate. I would have to look up because I know nothing about Boulder's Gate, but I know
Sure.
that's what it was.
But they had
Her
the wigs, they had her costume. I asked her about her costume and she makes it. She made it. She sewed everything.
her Instagram is Glitter Abomination. The character that she was dressed with was Alfreya, and she won Best in Show.
That's right. She was so modest about it, like, yeah, I made it. Like the work that you put into this, it's
Makeup.
oh
I
yeah,
can't
her makeup.
imagine because she was completely and totally blue.
Yep,
Abba dee da ba da.
she
Um,
did. She did. She looked great. Yeah.
so I didn't tell you I was going to do this, but after I got home, I had an idea, and I sent a message out to my Cape Crusaders,
Mm-hmm.
and I had them write in questions for you.
Oh, cool.
Um, I'm going to take it that maybe my Cape Crusaders haven't been to many comic conventions because I think they have some misconceptions about it. Pickle wrote in and
A
asked,
pickle. Cool. I love your comments. Let me just say, yeah, they make me laugh.
Well, here's another one. Was there an abundance of unwashed heathens?
Unwashed heathens. I don't fully know what you mean by that, but if you mean comic nerds, yes, there's a lot.
None of them was like, I don't really remember walking through there and thinking, boy, these people need to learn what deodorant is. I mean, they seemed like they were washed.
Yeah, yeah. I'd say there were only a small handful of some grungy ones.
That's a good way to put it, grungy.
Came out of the basement for a day.
Storm Beagle had a good follow up to this question. He asked, what was one thing you saw that you wish you could unsee?
Ooh, this is a good one. Now, it's been a while since we went to the Comic-Con.
About 2 months.
Yeah, so let me think here. I'm gonna take a long pause and kind of try and think. I want to say it was somebody's costume and her ass cheeks were out. Oh, I'm sorry, her butt cheeks were out. You could just dub over that. And, but I mean, you've seen one butt cheek, you've seen them all. So it wasn't too crazy.
Sure, that's how that saying goes. Thought it was if you see one butt cheek, you want to see them all.
No, no, you definitely don't want to see all the butt cheeks. Trust me, in my line of work, no, you do not want to see the butt cheeks.
I can't really remember anything. Like I know I've been to comic conventions where you see a costume that you're like, really? You
Yeah,
couldn't think of anything else, but like there was nothing there.
mm-mm.
Or some art. Sometimes you'll see like art that kind of is a little disturbing, a
Yeah,
little
none of that. I
hentai-ish,
will say
or
nothing really made me kind of turn my head and be like, "Oh gosh." Um no, the only thing that I was kind of chaotic with or wasn't too happy about was just the AC was kind of broken. So,
oh my word, I completely forgot about that.
oh gosh, it was so hot.
The room that we did the interviews, the first morning we did interviews with Mark Wade and Jim Shooter, and
Mhm.
the AC was broken, and the guys that were supposed to fix it ended up sitting in. Well, the one sat in on the
Yep.
interviews and just sat there and listened to us talk instead of fixing the damn
Yep.
AC.
And then you could hear them banging on the units. They were working on them, and you can just hear the hammer going as we're doing the interview. And the guy is sitting there shaking his head, rolling his eyes, like so
Yeah,
upset.
because everyone knows the way you fix air conditioning is with a ball peen hammer.
Yes.
Like I don't even know why they were. I have no idea,
Oh goodness.
but
But yeah, no, nothing really made me turn my head and be like, "Oh my gosh." The only thing that obviously, everybody has their quirks. Just talking to some people, you're like, just odd fellas.
yeah, yeah, definitely a couple of those. So Pickle actually replied to Storm Beagle's comment,
Hmm.
and he blotted it out. And I want you to read it. All you have to do is click on the black, and it'll appear.
Oh, these nuts.
Uh, so, on a little more serious note, we mentioned the cosplayers. Because19 wrote in and he asked, "What was your favorite cosplay?"
Cosplay. Oh, again, I do not know the characters except there were three Princess Peach. I do know her. That's about it.
I only remember seeing one of them.
No, two of them had the exact same dress. They did not come together. They were separate. And the other one, she didn't have as much of a ball gown like the other two girls did, but um, hers was a little bit more minimalistic.
Hmm.
It's my favorite one. I'm gonna take a long pause again. I gotta think.
Long pauses are good for radio.
Yeah. Just listen to the silence.
All I hear is my computer whining and the dryer going on down the hall.
You're gonna have to jog my memory. I can't remember a lot of them.
Well, the Harley Quinn that we have the video with,
Yeah.
hers was good. The gentleman that was Reed Richards that we had the video with, the second day he was Doctor Strange, and that was like movie quality Doctor
Mm.
Strange. Um, in all honesty, that
It was kind
there
of
was
it. There
not
wasn't
a
a lot.
lot of
You know
cosplayers.
what?
I was shocked.
He was dressed up, but he so there's a gentleman with his booth, and he and I think his wife or his partner in this business dress up and recreate different famous photos. So the iconic Seinfeld photo of what's his name with his white underwear posing on a couch. The guy from Seinfeld, bald, partially bald, glasses,
George Costanza?
George Costanza. There's a picture of him on a couch, belly down, wearing socks and
We're talking about the guy that was Magneto the first day, right?
yeah, all of
The
that
guy that
booth.
was like 3 feet taller than me, that guy.
Yes, yes. He recreated it, or that's what his booth was. A lot of the photos were recreations of different things, and he had dressed up in the same outfit as George Costanza in that. So a lot of his I've just found it kind of funny.
I completely missed all of that.
Oh yeah, yeah. I kind of just like looked at perused it a little bit. But yeah, I liked that. He and his partner were
I
really
mean, there
really cool
his
and into that.
Magneto costume was awesome, and then
Mhm.
she was Emma Frost the first
Yeah.
time. Hers
I
was
liked
really cool
theirs, but as
too.
far as people that attended, I will say I did. I liked the Princess Peach one.
Oh, okay.
But I do think the girl that we went to bar with, I think hers was really good.
Yeah, yeah, hers was incredible.
As far as makeup, hers was great. Outfit, great. Reed Richards, I liked his. I didn't realize who he was until you said it, and then I was like, that is perfect. So spot on. It's a big ham, all of it. It was really cool.
Yeah, yeah, that one I expected there to be a lot more cosplay, but there wasn't a ton there.
Mm-mm.
Um, I honestly like to see the kids come in dressed up as
Oh yeah,
cosplayers, the little Spider
the
Man, and
one kid was standing there in the hallway, I guess waiting for his parents or something, but he was in a blow up Pikachu.
yeah, that
And
one was hysterical.
what's funny is I saw like in the little window where he looks out of, he had taken his arms out of the Pikachu arms and he was in there texting. So it was just funny to see him stand there like that.
Back to our Cape Crusaders questions. Uh, we're gonna have a couple from Pickle here. He asks, "What were you expecting to see outside of the vendors?"
Hmm. Like just in general of
Well, you already kind of said, I think, that you were expecting just comic books. Like you really weren't expecting anything other than
no.
vendors or
No, I wasn't expecting it to be that large. I wasn't expecting to see as many artists either. I mean, the sheer number of artists. Of course, you've got your comic book stores and everything. They came, their booths were huge. You've got the artists who have all of that, and then of course they have um their own comics there. But the amount of people that have their artwork, or the one guy, he he was very, very nice. He took pictures of different pops and different like landscaping and stuff and recreated it, but on the level like how tall the pops are, he'd put them in the grass and, say if it was Thor or something, like he would kind of make it into a photo worthy. You know, I'm trying to explain here.
He had famous scene from The Lion King where Timon, Pumbaa, and Simba are
Yeah.
walking across the log, and Simba ages in that scene.
Yes.
He had that recreated, and it was to scale using Funko Pops.
Yes.
He was scaling everything the right way.
Yes.
I spent quite a bit of time talking with him when you were making one of your vehicle breaks and getting away from the chaos. Huh. I stood over there and talked with him and a couple of the other vendors in the area, and he was very nice. And again, I believe I actually should have got all the business cards that I sat here and had in my that
Oh
we picked
yeah.
up there because I would have been able to name these people as we went through this. But yeah, his was cool. Um,
So yeah, I it just made me think, you know, how do these people make a living? How do they go into it? If you've got this many artists, how do you make yours stand out? Like what makes yours so much better than, you know, some, the guys that have made it in this industry? The one guy we passed by his booth quite a bit, but he actually wrote an entire comic. You actually took it with you, I think, or he was going to send it to you or something. He was next to a couple booths down from Magneto.
oh, yes, I bought issue number one.
But, you know, what's
I
what
think
makes
he
his
has.
stand out compared to the hundreds of others that were sitting there doing the same thing? Or you go into one ballroom and all the artists are sitting there on their sketch pads just drawing and drawing. Like, what? How do you make it in an industry so large like that? How do you stand out? How does your artwork stand out? The stories, plots, all of it. It's fell down a rabbit hole or two thinking about that and just kind of letting my mind wander with it. So, yeah, no, I did not expect comic books and anything really much outside of that and cosplay. So, I was pleasantly surprised.
Well, and to that point, we spent time with Bob Allman, who was an inker, Keith Williams, who was an inker,
Mhm.
uh, B.G. Chichester, writer,
Yes. Gosh, is he tall?
uh, Mark Wade, writer, uh, Barbara Freelander, writer,
Mhm.
and Jim Shooter, writer.
Also incredibly tall.
Yeah. Um, and we got to hear their stories. You were there for the Shooter, Wade, and Barbara interviews, and you got to hear their stories and um, especially Jim Shooter's, who his interview has not been released on the podcast, but it is on my Instagram. I will release that on the podcast probably around the holiday season, just to kind of give me a break from having to squeeze in holiday time. And
Oh yeah.
but
Honestly, I wish we had more time to talk with them.
yeah. Yeah, it was kind of funny that he was talking to us as he was going out the door, though.
Yes.
I mean,
He just Logan made the comment of he's like, "Oh man, I don't want to keep you any longer." And there's a gentleman that came to kind of pick him up, and Logan had said, "Oh, I wish I had like an hour more with you." And Jim replied with, "Oh, I wish I could give you 4 hours or 4 days worth or something." Like he's like, "I've got enough for 4 days
he said
worth."
he had enough for 4 days worth. Yeah,
So he can go on and on. He's got stories for
and
ages.
and he did, and I think you know at this point in his life he realizes that he is part of a group of, forget what the common term is, but um, legacy art, legacy writers and artists. That's what I'm
Hmm.
looking for. And we got to talk to two of them,
Yeah.
Shooter and Barbara. I mean, they're two incredible legacy writers, and there's not many of them left. And
No.
we every year we see more and more pass away. Stim Lee, Steve Ditko, George Perez. mean, they're it's
Yeah,
part
time
of life.
time is a thief. Yeah, it is. It's part of life, and
And
they've paved the way for us, and it's then our responsibility to continue what they've built for us.
I think Mr. Shooter is to the point in his life where he realizes that he is getting short on time, and he is very motivated by that to talk to everyone and just
Oh yeah.
push his knowledge out. Because I walked over to his booth at one point. It was when we were getting ready to leave on Sunday, and he was talking to a guy, and I mean, it was kind of like when the he was leaving our interview and still talking, and like the guy was
Yeah.
like trying to walk away, and he was still
Yeah.
talking to him, and he's not being like it's not like he's attention grabbing. It's just
No.
that he had such a passion for this,
He has such a passion. Yeah.
and you ask about these artists and how you make your artwork stand out or what your writing stand out, and I think that's what it comes down to.
Mhm.
Man, this is a guy that started his career at 13 years old,
Yeah.
and I mean, we asked him questions about that, and he kind of echoed the same thing I just said, but
I feel like
um,
back in his day as well, this wasn't as prevalent as it is today.
no.
There are so it was just sketch drawing really, and coloring. Now we have
Oh, that's not.
not entirely. You didn't have the animation type that we have nowadays, meaning computer stuff has gone such a long way. At first, it's just hand drawing and splicing things together through film to make it digital. But now you have special effects, and it's grown exponentially in a different way. He's seen so much in his lifetime, you know? Like
Yeah.
you think of us, born in the 90s, what we've seen in the 90s growing into what we have in today's day and age. We've, you know, gone from our home phones, landlines, all of that to something as, small, keep in your pocket type of deal. It's crazy. Electronics, all of it has grown so much. So, yeah, he's just a plethora of knowledge, stories, you name it. And he's so sweet as well.
Yeah.
Like I could listen to him forever. You do not get bored listening to him. I think you guys are really going to enjoy listening to
When I was at his booth, he was telling stories about Stan Lee, and I mean, it just,
Barbara as well.
yeah.
Her story, she had met with Stanley as well. Like you wouldn't expect these big names at Hershey, Pennsylvania.
Yeah. Um, so, as a non-comic book fan, where was your appreciation for these writers and artists before the Comic-Con, and where is it after?
Listening to you like, oh, here's this, comic book. Look at this one, the artwork on this, and it's written by so and so, and I'm like, uh-huh, uh-huh. And I just don't I didn't expect anything, and then going into it, listening to you interview these guys, and I'm like, "Oh, wow." So he wasn't exactly exaggerating or fangirling hard for nothing. So,
Um, Out of everyone that we interviewed, do you have a favorite?
oh, I really enjoyed Jim. I like Jim Shooter the best, just because again, he's his knowledge of
Which one did you
everything.
think was the best interview, though?
Um,
Or was it Jen's?
I like Jim and his stories as far as somebody who I didn't expect to have as meet as many people, and I didn't know what they actually did was Batgirl.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I had no idea what to expect, but I was like, "Oh, it's Batgirl. She just dressed like her. Like, what's so special?" And she is the most down to earth, sweetest woman. And yeah, she shocked me with her her stories.
You know which one mine would be?
Cause
If I'm talking about like just my favorite interview from a technical and information standpoint,
mhm.
Barbara.
Really? I figured you were gonna say her.
Yep, I that was an interview that it was suggested to me do, and I had an hour and a half, I think, to prepare for it.
Mhm.
And I quick did tons of research, sat down with her, basically shot from the hip. I think I had 2 notes on my page. And I mean, she ended up being the first woman to create a character for DC.
Yeah.
Like, how cool is that we got to sit down with her? And like, we walked by her booth and didn't really pay much attention to it because she wrote, the teenage love comics and things like that. And it, you know, oddly enough, that trope of don't judge a book by its cover. And there I was like,
Yeah.
not interested in that. And then it turns out that she was, one of my favorite people that we talked to. And again, that is not on our Instagram. She did not want to be on Vimeo.
She didn't. She was not expecting to have an interview, and she was so sweet. She's like, are we gonna she was so nervous to do a video, and she's like, "Oh, I'm not dressed for it." And she was so worried. She looked absolutely fine, by the way, but she was so worried she was not put together enough. So she's like, no, no video, please."
But which I'm fine with that, and
Oh
that
yeah,
gives me an interview that I get to drop in the midst of all these other ones
yeah.
that people haven't heard yet. So that'll be really exciting. Uh, let's go back to our Cape Crusader comments, and let's yet again visit the old pickle.
Pickle, my goodness.
Uh, Pickle wants to know, how did you keep Cape from spending the children's college money on rare collectibles?
Um, Actually, I feel like I was kind of bad. Like, I wanted to buy a bunch of stuff, and I'm like, this is just really cool. Look, it has this, or oh, look, we can get this for Bub. And it was, yeah. There wasn't a lot that you were like, gimme, gimme, gimme.
No, I'm pretty controlled when I go to cons.
Yeah.
The money that I spent there was on signatures. The ones that I paid for. The people that we
Yeah.
did interviews with were generous enough not to
Mm-hmm.
have me pay for them. I did buy the Batgirl pop so I could have Karen sign that.
Yeah.
Um, and I did buy a few comics, but nothing major. I also know that when you go to conventions like that, the food is typically pretty expensive,
Yeah.
and so I try to balance that out. But you didn't. What we bought little like the Croc things, the little like figures
Oh,
that
the
you put
little
on the
like
shoes.
gibbets, or yes, to put
Batman,
them
Hulk,
on Bub's Crocs.
Man,
And
and
Hulk.
Sai.
Yay.
Uh, didn't buy any art, and I came close.
No, we
That
bought
that
the
guy.
one artwork for my mom.
Yep, we bought the Batman chasing a
She
shark.
she thinks
That's
that what's his name?
Adam West.
She thinks the Adam West Batman is the best, and um, Unbuckled thinks otherwise. So the artwork, maybe he'll post it on his Instagram or something. But
Your mom
it's
has it. I don't have it anymore.
we'll have to get a little picture of it. But it is uh, a shark with legs running from Adam West, who is running after him with shark spray, shark repellent.
Shark repellent bat spray.
Yes.
Yep.
So I thought it was so funny. And my mom cracks up at that all the time. So I was like, this is perfect. And it's just a regular size, sheet of paper. It's not anything huge. So honestly, that's the only thing that we got. We got it for Bob and then my mom.
Well, she was the one that kept them over the weekend, so you and I could go do this. So
Oh,
we
yeah.
felt like we were obligated to get her something. Um, so let's revisit here. Where are we in our Crusader comments?
Another one from Pickle.
I'm going to save. He does have one more, but I'm going to save it. Super Dave writes in and says, "Is there any comic book or character that you might be interested in looking up after attending the con?"
I'll be honest, Super Dave. I am not much of a reader in general. So I have a better appreciation of comics and everything, but I am still not a comic book lover. I don't think I'm going to dive into it. I'm not a book reader either. My ADHD, my ADD is too strong. So if it's not attention grabbing, I get distracted too easily. So probably not.
The only comic book you've ever read is Spidey and His Amazing Friends, and that's because Bob asks us to every night.
Oh,
And like a
yes.
champ, you do the voices.
I do. I do. I try and channel my inner unbuckled and I try and shoot off the hip from listening to you with them. And I'm like, oh, okay, this is what they're supposed to sound like. And then I'm like, okay, I can copy this.
You're gonna get the Green Goblin, that high pitch. Oh, little spider.
And then Hulk just sounds like super dopey.
Yep. Oh, I'm really excited. This month they actually start running that as an ongoing series. So
Oh,
Bubba's gonna
cool.
get all kinds of new Spidey
Oh,
comics.
he's gonna love it.
Almost every night we read Spidey or Batman. Uh, let's go back to Pickle. Maybe we should have had him on here for the interview.
Honestly.
Uh, this is our last one from him. He asked if you could customize a convention, what you'd like to experience, what would you do?
Oh, that's a good one. Specific to comics?
Answer both.
Hmm.
What is a convention you would like to have just for you? And then what would you like to do with a comic convention?
I think the comic convention, I really like when people make their own stuff. So the gibbets or the that same booth, she had pens. Oh, I could have bought all the pens with they had different characters on top and some of them would light up. I like those where the 3D printed keychains and all of that.
It sounds like you want to go to an art fair, not a comic book
I
convention.
love I just like fairs in general, conventions in general. I've been to horse expos and it's just fun to see everything and see the booths with everything that I like shopping in person. Amazon is great.
Hold on a second. 20 minutes ago, you told me you didn't want to go to a comic book convention because you were uncomfortable about it. Now you're like, I love all kinds of conventions.
Yes, comic book related. I am not there for the art. I'm there for the I don't want to say toys, little stuff that people make, like pens and all of that. I like those little trinkets.
And those people that did the 3D printing, they 3D printed like Pokemon Red game case, and
Yeah.
sometimes I dream about them.
I wanted to get Bub a Hulk one, but I
Oh,
was
that's right. They
wondering,
pieced together
they
and they
pieced
came
together,
apart.
and the wife had said, "Oh, well, if he's, too rough with it, it might pop off." And I was like, he's pretty destructive.
Yeah, right now.
Thanks to Unbuckled.
Why is that my fault?
You taught him you even said it. We took out, we call him Baby Unbuckled number two,
Dub.
Dub. You took out the stack cups that you would stack for Bub when he was little. We took that out for Dub, and you were like, "Oh, this is where it all began."
Yeah.
You would stack these cups, and then you would tell Bub to knock them over, and that's when his
No, no,
destructive behavior
you were
started.
wrong. I told him, don't knock over Daddy's tower.
In such a tempting voice.
That's just knocking over towers. That's not supposed to be mean to toys.
No, and when I take him to like gymnastics and stuff, when he stacks the little foam blocks and he sees other children stacking their own foam blocks, he loves to run over and knock them over.
Yeah.
But my own convention, I think, you probably, I appreciate a lot. I'm the type of person that I could kind of go and just enjoy, find enjoyment in a lot of stuff. I just have appreciation for it. So I like cleaning. Send me to a cleaning convention.
I knew that's
I
where this
want to
was
see,
going.
oh, I want to see it all. I want to, man, who is that one guy from uh, was it the bleach commercials or
Billy,
Billy, Billy Hayes,
I want to say Billy Mays, but
Billy Mays? And, he'd always like yell and everything. He passed away from like cocaine or something like that.
no,
I don't know.
no.
But anyways, yeah, would love to have met that guy. Just yeah, the scrub daddy, the scrub mommy stuff. Absolutely. Send me to a cleaning convention.
Knowing my listeners, and you're like, oh yeah, the scrub daddy and scrub mommy. It's just, I can't wait to read the comments from that one.
Oh, I bet Pickle already has one lined up for scrub daddy.
Oh, that's funny. Well, on that note, let's get this wrapped up with a last question from Because19, and he actually asked what I wanted to ask to end this. He asked, "What was your favorite thing about the entire convention?" And then I will tag on to the end of that and say, "And would you do it again?" As the Capes. I asked you if you would do it again just to go, but would you do it again as the Capes?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'd do it again as the Capes for sure. It was so much fun to set up and kind of feel like a little celebrity, you know? Um, and the gentleman that made the comic convention all come together, the fact that he was just so loving and so kind to constantly be like, "Oh yeah, let's get you an interview with this person," or "Yeah, let's go ahead and do this." And it was just like it was so great. Um, I already forgot the first part of that question. What was it?
What was your favorite thing about the convention?
Favorite thing.
I mean, I know they didn't have vacuums or anything like that, so
What's listen to the crackle of like somebody vacuuming over like dirt. Oof.
why are nerds the weirdos?
Man, what I liked about the convention itself was that to see you kind of light up with everything, to see you, again, like a little celebrity, Not that people came up and were like, oh, there was only that one guy that came up and the other guy that work, he came on the second day
Hmm.
and we saw him. But the one guy, he follows you, and
Yep, savagery
he and his wife, or he and his girlfriend, fiance,
and fiance.
fiance. We got to talk with them, and it was just really cool to see people like see one of your followers, and I'm just here as the background person, but it was really cool to see you in your glory and see you interviewing all these people and you just have so much knowledge and love for the comic industry in and of itself. So it was really nice to just sit back and see you love on it so much.
Yeah, I mean, I think when I started this, it wasn't long into it. I distinctively remember saying, I'll do this for 3 months and then I'll reassess. And I think it was 6 months, and I looked at you and said, by the way, I think I'm going to keep doing this. And we just blew by that 3 month mark. And I remember early on, and I don't remember if I said it in an episode or if I said it to, one of the sidekicks that I had on an episode, but I remember saying to somebody, I think the end goal is to go to a comic book convention for
Yeah.
this. And I never really thought that it was going to happen so fast. I actually didn't even really know if it would ever happen.
Yeah.
But um, so doing the Hershey Comic Con and getting to interview people, getting to interview, you know, Bob Allman is an incredible inker and has set up the Inkwell Awards,
Hmm.
but he his name isn't like, Jim Shooter or Mark. Like, I got to from all spectrums. And then, Karen Whitfield, who has, her fame comes from comics, but she never wrote or drew,
Yeah.
or, she acted as a character,
Yeah.
but not a screen actor. She traveled around with West and Ward.
That's what blew my mind about that. She wasn't the screen actress and she met all these people. It just goes to show you that you can do a
I,
lot in this
I've
industry.
been reading her book, and it's
Hmm.
pretty cool what all she did just because of
Oh,
being
cool.
Batgirl. But anyway, um, getting to interview these people because of uh, the work that I've put into this, the core group of, I don't like the word followers. They're my,
Why?
because they're friends. They're not followers. They support
Yeah.
me, and we talk.
Followers isn't a negative thing.
I just don't like, anyway, because of my Cape Crusaders,
Yeah.
um, and the way they have kind of kept me grounded, and given me the reassurance, and the positive feedback, and sometimes the negative feedback, to help me get this to a place where I'm happy with the product that I'm putting out there, to give me a reason to keep doing it, because if no one was listening, I wouldn't be doing it at this point.
Yeah.
And then, really, you're the biggest part of me being able to do this, because of, especially with the Hershey Comic Con. I mean, that was wild there for a while, having the scheduling of getting people into the show, and
Yeah.
doing, at that point we were still doing Patreon, so I had Patreon episodes and regular episodes, and we both had work and both of the boys, and for you to be able to shoulder a little extra of that load means everything to me, and getting to do this, and it meant so much to me to be able to take you to that comic book convention,
You're so sweet.
and be able to sit through those interviews with me. And it was good to have you there too, because when we were in the room and you're like, let's go for a walk. I can't
Oh
even
my
be around you right now. Just
gosh.
go for a walk.
You were like vibrating in place and you were so nervous. I'm like, you need to just walk away. Please. You're driving me nuts.
I finally went to go for a walk, and Mark Wade walked in the door as I was trying to walk out. I was like, no. The drive down, we were like almost there, and I'm like, wow, I'm really nervous. And you're like, yeah, you haven't shut up for the last 20 minutes.
He was just going and going and going. I'm like, oh my gosh, you weren't even that nervous for our wedding. Honestly, nothing. You weren't ever this nervous for anything. Birth of our babies, nothing. But yeah, meeting your lifelong celebrities for sure.
Yeah, I mean, Mark Wade wrote the first comic book I ever owned. Jim Shooter's Jim Shooter. And funny enough, that was the one that I was super nervous for.
Yeah.
And the second he walked in the door and said hello, I was like, what? this is a
But you had
completely
already
different.
interviewed Mark, and you were most nervous with Mark, and you were like, "Man, I'm nervous." And he's like, "Why? I'm just a regular person." And I kind of chuckled at that, like, "You are not a regular person,
Yeah,
sir."
it was really funny when I asked him how he would like me to address him because everybody that I interview, I have a set of questions that I ask them
Mhm.
before I do an interview. How would you like me to address you? Because until I ask that question, I refer to them as Mr. or Mrs.
Yeah.
and then, last name. Is there anything that you don't want to talk about? Just in case, because you never know. There might be a
Sure.
subject.
That's nice and courteous too.
And then I run them through what I would like to hit on, and then I do the couple of like, our target is 20 minutes or 40 minutes or
Sure,
whatever it
sure.
is, and I go through all that. Well, I didn't even get to all of that with Mark because when I asked him, "How would you like me to address you?" his reply was, "The living legend is just fine."
That was nice. I like
And
that.
I got a good laugh out of that, and that kind of helped reset my focus of like, oh, okay, this is going to be all right. And I even said to them that I really appreciated that joke, and that's
Yeah.
when we got to
Yeah.
talking about, he was just another guy that loved comics. And I think when you sit down and actually get to talk to these people, and you talk to them about comics, because there's a lot of interviews out there with these artists and writers, and I think too much in this industry. I've tried to listen to other comic book podcasts, and I can't do it.
Yeah.
They get too into like personal stuff. I'm like, that's fine if that's what you want, but I just want to talk about comics. I don't
Yeah.
I don't care what your political alignment is. I don't care.
People like the drama of it as
Right,
well. It's all about the tea. It's all about the
right. I don't care about that. Let's talk about good books. And
yeah.
um, when I was talking to,
I love how we said we were gonna end this and we just keep on going off in
it's how
tangents.
every one of my sidekick episodes go, man. When I was interviewing Dan, I had asked him if there was anything that he was reading, and he was just like, "Not really. I really wish I had time to." Um,
Yeah.
I think I asked the same for Keith Williams, and I think he gave me the same answer. But when I asked Mark Wade what he was reading, he had a whole list for me of stuff that he was reading. And he
Yeah.
was like, "Oh, I'm really enjoying this, and everything that Tom Taylor does right now is fantastic." And, I actually have a couple of series that I'm pulling right now that is written by Tom Taylor, and including The Dark Knights of Steel, which I've raved about since it came out. It's been one of my favorite comic books that I've read, period. And um, point being is when you sit down with these people and actually talk to them, and you figure out that they are the same that we are. They're just comic book nerds
Yeah.
that just found a way to make it their
Mhm.
life. So
This is the way that you found your little nook, your corner of loving on comics as well, and you know,
yeah, it has been an incredible ride.
absolutely.
So you look like you're ready to fall asleep.
Oh yeah. What time is it? It's probably like 11 o'clock.
11:30.
Yeah. Oh. Dub is gonna be up in like 2 hours, so
All right. Well, on that note, thanks for doing this. We'll find something else to get you on here about.
yeah.
Maybe we'll do a movie review or something together.
Oh, that'd be nice. Um, Unbuckled over here has never seen Gladiator, and he is currently watching it. And
You know, well, actually, the normal
yeah,
listeners aren't, but
I'd
I
love
did,
to do a movie one. That would be
I
awesome.
did, I did a Patreon episode a while back where I listed the top 20 movies, non-comic book movies that I haven't seen, and
Yeah.
Gladiator was on there.
Yeah. We do a lot of look, Unbuckled and I do a lot of um, YouTube video, like listening to YouTube videos, and it's like, oh, you have 5 seconds to guess the beginning of this movie, like the music, and we'll sit in the car on like long drives or something, or we're doing dishes, and we're like, oh, what is that? And you wouldn't believe how difficult it is. And the first one I got, boom, right off the bat, I was like, Gladiator, and he's like, "You've seen Gladiator?" Now, mind you, I have an older brother, and he watched a lot of all the war movies and everything like that. So of course, I've watched them. So yes, I watched Gladiator, and I was like the iconic sound of their its music. And so, you know, Unbuckled was washing dishes tonight, and he was watching Gladiator, and I'm like, "Ah, there's that music again." So he's gonna brush up on it. I think that would be fun to do. Do one of
We'll
those.
find a movie one to do.
Mhm.
I have like 30 minutes left in Gladiator, and I might finish it tonight if you ever stop talking and let
Yeah,
me
I know.
end this
I'm
show.
sorry. I'm sorry. All right, let's end it. Let's end it.
uh, well, until next time, guys, get out there and save the world, you bunch of heroes. Oh,
Ray?
Egon.
What?